The Journey of Little Adom and the Lost Kingdom of Light. Once upon a time, in a quiet village, nestled at the edge of the great Kuntu forest, there lived a boy named Adom. His name meant grace, though he often felt far from graceful. Adom was an orphan, raised by the kind villagers, who pitied his lonely fate. Though they shared their food and warm smiles, the boy often wandered to the outskirts of the village, sitting beneath the ancient baobab tree, where the whispers of the wind seemed to tell stories older than time itself. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Adom sat under the tree, watching fireflies blink in the dusk. Suddenly, a soft fluttering sound caught his attention. A pure white dove landed beside him, its feathers glowing faintly in the dim light. To Adom's amazement, the dove turned its small head and spoke. "Adom, son of grace, the great light has chosen you for a journey that will change everything." Adom blinked, certain he was dreaming. "Who are you? How can you speak?" he stammered. The dove spread its wings, its voice calm and gentle. "I am Asi, a messenger of the great light. Your people have forgotten the path of truth, and darkness threatens to swallow the land. You must journey to find the kingdom of light, a place where hope still shines. Will you answer the call?" Adom's heart pounded. He was just a boy, weak, small, and unimportant. How could he possibly face such a task? That night, Adom returned to the small hut he called home. He lay on his mat, staring at the woven roof, unable to forget the dove's words. "The kingdom of light," he whispered to himself. Sleep soon claimed him, and as he drifted off, a vivid dream enveloped his mind. In his dream, Adom stood at the edge of a great valley. Before him stretched a city made of gold and crystal, glowing with a light so bright it seemed to chase every shadow away. The gates of the city were tall and radiant, and a warm voice echoed in his ears. "Come, Adom. I have chosen you to bring my light into the darkness." Suddenly, the dream shifted. Dark clouds rolled across the sky, swallowing the city in blackness. A chilling laugh boomed, and Adom saw shadowy figures, with hollow eyes, rising from the ground. He tried to run, but his feet wouldn't move. Just as the darkness reached him, a voice shouted, "Fear not, Adom. The great light is with you." He awoke with a gasp, drenched in sweat. The dream was no ordinary dream, it was a calling. The dove's words were true. The next morning, Adom set out to find Old Mother Cuckoo, the oldest and wisest woman in the village. Everyone said she spoke with spirits and knew secrets of the past. Her hut stood on the edge of the forest, surrounded by herbs and flowers. Smoke rose from the chimney as Adom approached. "Mother Cuckoo," Adom called softly, peering through the open doorway. Inside, the old woman sat on a low stool, stirring a pot over a crackling fire. Her eyes, milky with age, seemed to see straight through him. "Come in, child of grace," she said, her voice raspy but kind. "What troubles your young heart?" Adom knelt before her and poured out the story of the dove in his dream. Mother Cuckoo listened, nodding slowly. When he finished, she reached for a wooden staff carved with ancient symbols. "The great light has spoken to you, Adom. The kingdom of light is real, though forgotten by most. Long ago, it was the heart of our land, but pride and greed cast it into shadow. Now, darkness grows stronger, and only those with pure hearts can restore the light." Adom's eyes widened. "But why me? I'm just a boy." Mother Cuckoo smiled faintly. "It is often the smallest lantern that shines the brightest. You must leave this village, Adom, and follow the dove. Trust the great light, and you will never be alone. With Mother Cuckoo's blessing and a small bundle of food tied in cloth, Adom stood once more beneath the great baobab tree. The white dove, Esi, perched on a branch, waiting patiently. "Are you ready, Adom?" the dove asked. Adom took a deep breath, his small hands clutching the bundle tightly. "I'm ready." The dove fluttered into the air, and Adom followed. The forest was alive with sounds, the chirping of birds, the rustling of leaves, and the distant roar of unseen creatures. Adom's steps were cautious, for the forest had always been forbidden to children. But with the dove leading him, he felt a strange courage growing inside. By afternoon, they reached a small clearing where a crystal-clear stream trickled over smooth stones. Adom knelt to drink, and as he did, he noticed strange shadows moving in the trees. Suddenly, a voice hissed, "Turn back, little boy. This forest does not belong to you." Adom froze. The voice sounded neither human nor animal. The dove landed on his shoulder, whispering, "Do not be afraid, Adom. The shadows cannot harm you if you trust the great light." Adom closed his eyes and whispered, "The great light is with me." When he opened them, the shadows had vanished, and the forest was peaceful again. "You have taken your first step of faith," said the dove. "The journey will not be easy, but the great light is watching over you." Adom nodded, his heart steady. He knew he could not turn back now. As evening fell, Adom and Esi reached the edge of a dark swamp. The air was heavy with mist, and strange whispers floated on the wind. "We must cross this swamp," Esi said, "but be watchful, for this is where the shadow men linger." Adom stepped carefully onto the damp ground, his feet sinking slightly. The whispers grew louder, and shadowy figures began to rise from the fog. They were tall and thin, with hollow eyes that glowed faintly. "Go back," they whispered in unison. "You are too weak. You will fail." Fear gripped Adom's heart, but he remembered the words of the great light, "Fear not, for I am with you." He closed his eyes and began to sing softly, repeating a hymn he had learned long ago. "The light is my strength, my shield, my song. In darkness, the light will carry me along." As he sang, the shadows recalled, their hollow eyes dimming. The swamp grew brighter, and the path became clear. Esi cooed approvingly. "Your faith is your weapon, Adom. Never forget that." After crossing the swamp, Adom and Esi arrived at a strange village just as the first stars twinkled in the sky. The houses were small and crooked, their walls covered with creeping vines. As they entered, the villagers, men, women, and children, stood still, watching Adom with empty stares and faint smiles. "Welcome, traveler," a woman with long gray hair said. Her voice was sweet, but her eyes were cold. "Stay here and rest. You must be so tired. Why go on such a dangerous journey?" Esi, perched on Adom's shoulder, whispered urgently, "Adom, do not listen to them. This is the village of whispering lies. Their words are traps." The woman smiled wider, stepping closer. "You are just a small boy," she cooed. "The great light does not need you. Turn back, child. Rest here forever, where it is safe." Around them, the villagers' voices rose like the hum of bees. "Stay. Stop. Rest. The journey is too hard." For a moment, Adom felt their words seep into his heart. Why go on? He thought. I am small. I am weak. Maybe this is where I belong. But then he looked at Esi, whose feathers shimmered faintly. He remembered Mother Cuckoo's words, "It is often the smallest lantern that shines the brightest." Adom took a deep breath and whispered, "The great light is with me." The voices grew louder, angry now, but Adom clasped his hands and began to pray. "Great light, help me hear only your voice." Suddenly, a brilliant glow surrounded Adom, and the villagers shrieked, covering their eyes. The vines on the houses withered, and the village began to crumble like dust. The woman's sweet voice turned to a hiss as she vanished into the shadows. Esi fluttered above Adom, her voice gentle. "You have overcome the lies, Adom. Always remember, the great light's truth is stronger than any lie." With the path clear, Adom stepped forward, leaving the broken village behind. The night was deep and silent when Adom and Esi reached another clearing. In its center stood the largest baobab tree Adom had ever seen, its massive trunk stretching toward the heavens like the pillar of a great palace. Its roots snaked across the ground, and its branches spread like arms ready to embrace the stars. Esi perched on one of the low branches and spoke. "This is the tree of the promise. The great light planted it long ago, as a reminder that those who seek him will find help along their journey." Adom stared up at the great tree, his heart full of awe. Suddenly, the ground beneath the tree shook, and a low rumble echoed through the clearing. From the shadow of the roots, a great figure emerged. It was a man, tall as 2 houses, with skin like polished bronze and eyes that shone like fire. He carried a staff in one hand and a sack in the other. "Who comes to the tree of the promise?" the giant's voice boomed, deep as thunder. Adom stepped forward, his legs trembling, but his voice steady. "I'm Adom, a servant of the great light. I seek the kingdom of light to bring hope to my people." The giant studied him for a long moment before kneeling, his great face close to Adom's. "Many who come here seek power or riches, but you come for the light. Take this, child of grace." From his sack, the giant pulled out a small golden lantern. Its glass shimmered faintly, as though a tiny star was trapped inside. "This is the lantern of truth," the giant said. "When darkness surrounds you, it will light the path. But remember, the flame grows brighter when your faith is strong." Adom took the lantern with trembling hands. The moment he touched it, warmth spread through his chest, and the flame within the lantern flickered to life. The giant nodded approvingly. "Go now, and fear not. The great light walks with you." As Adom turned to leave, Esi whispered, "This gift is precious, Adom. Guard it well, for the darkness will try to steal it." Adom held the lantern close and continued his journey, the flame lighting the way. By morning, Adom and Esi stood before a wide, rushing river. Its waters churned violently, and the sound of the current was deafening. The river stretched far and wide, with no bridge in sight. Across the water, Adom could see the faint outline of a path leading into the hills. "How do we cross this?" Adom asked, his voice small against the roar of the river. Esi circled above, her voice clear over the noise. "This is the hungry river. It feeds on fear and doubt. If you try to cross with fear in your heart, the river will pull you under." Adom's eyes widened as he watched the swirling waters. Suddenly, dark shapes began to rise from the river, hands made of water, reaching out like claws. A deep voice rumbled from the depths, "Turn back, child. You will drown. You are not strong enough to cross me." Adom's heart pounded. The water was alive, and it wanted him to fail. For a moment, he stepped back, fear crawling up his spine. But then he remembered the lantern in his hands. Its golden flame flickered brightly, as though calling to him. Adom tightened his grip and whispered, "The great light is with me. I will not be afraid." Slowly, he stepped into the river. The water was cold, and the current tugged at his legs, but the lantern's glow seemed to calm the storm. "Trust the great light," Esi called. "Do not look at the water, look at the light." Adom fixed his eyes on the flame in the lantern, taking one step after another. The voices of the river hissed and roared, but Adom ignored them. With every step, the water seemed to lose its strength, growing calmer and clearer. Finally, Adom stepped onto the other side of the river, his feet touching solid ground. The river let out one last roar before it fell silent, its waters turning still as glass. Adom looked back, amazed. "You crossed because you trusted," Esi said, landing beside him. "Remember, Adom, faith will carry you through every storm." Adom nodded, holding the lantern close. The journey was far from over, but his heart was stronger now. With Esi at his side, he continued toward the hills, where new challenges awaited. Would you like me to continue with more chapters in this detailed format? Each one will build on Adom's journey, weaving faith-based lessons and suspenseful moments to keep listeners captivated. Beyond the hungry river, the land began to rise into steep, rolling hills. The air grew hot, and the path seemed to vanish among sharp rocks and thorny bushes. Adom climbed carefully, his hands scratched and his feet aching. The golden lantern swung from his side, its light a steady glow even in the noonday sun. Esi flew low beside him. "These are the hills of trials, Adom. Each hill will test your heart, for many give up here and turn back." As Adom climbed the first hill, his legs grew heavy, and a strange voice echoed in his ears. "Turn back, child. What are you climbing for? The kingdom of light is a myth, a story for foolish hearts." The voice seemed to come from the rocks themselves, slithering around him like smoke. Adom paused, sweat dripping down his face. For a moment, doubt clouded his mind. What if this journey was all for nothing? He looked back at the path he had traveled and almost took a step down the hill. But then the lantern on his belt flickered brightly, reminding him of the light within. "No," Adom said aloud, gripping the lantern. "The great light is with me. I will not turn back." Suddenly, the ground shook, and the voice vanished. A cool breeze swept across the hilltop, and Adom saw the path stretching further ahead, clear and inviting. Esi landed on his shoulder. "You have passed the hill of doubt, Adom. Never let lies steal your hope." Adom smiled faintly. "I won't, Esi. I won't." He pressed on, climbing toward the next hill, where a new trial waited. The second hill was covered with sharp, tangled thorn bushes that blocked the path entirely. Adom tried to step carefully, but the thorns snagged his clothes and scratched his skin. Each scratch burned, and the pain made him angry. "This is impossible," Adom cried, his voice rising with frustration. "Why must everything be so hard?" The thorns seemed to hiss in response, their sharp points twisting like claws. "Yes, child," the thorns whispered. "Be angry. Be bitter. Shout at the great light for sending you here." For a moment, Adom wanted to yell, to tear through the thorns in fury. But then he remembered the voice of Mother Cuckoo, "The great light tests the heart, not to harm but to make it strong." Adom stopped and closed his eyes. He whispered a quiet prayer, Great light, help me to be calm and patient. The moment he prayed, the burning in his skin faded. The thorns no longer scratched or hurt him. Instead, they parted like curtains, revealing a smooth path through the bushes. Adom walked forward, holding the lantern high. ESI flew beside him. The thornbush of anger cannot defeat a calm heart, Adom. Remember, anger will always blind the way forward. Adom nodded. I will trust the light, no matter how hard the path becomes. At the top of the third hill, Adom found something unexpected, a small, sparkling fountain, bubbling with crystal-clear water. The air around it felt cool and peaceful, and wildflowers bloomed along the edge. Adom dropped to his knees and drank deeply, the water refreshing his tired body. As he drank, he heard a soft sobbing sound. Looking up, Adom saw an old man sitting under a nearby tree. His clothes were torn, and his face was lined with sadness. Sir, why are you crying? Adom asked, walking toward him. The old man looked up, his eyes dull and filled with tears. I have been thirsty for days, but I cannot reach the fountain. My body is too weak, and my spirit is broken. Adom felt a pang of compassion. He looked at his small bundle of food and the water in the fountain. Wait here, sir, he said. Adom filled his hands with water and brought it to the old man's lips. He made several trips, giving the man as much as he needed. Then, from his bundle, Adom took a small loaf of bread and placed it in the old man's hands. The man's eyes widened with surprise. Why would you help me, boy? You are on a great journey. You could have left me. Adom smiled. The great light teaches us to love others as we love ourselves. I could not leave you here alone. As soon as Adom spoke those words, a bright light shone from the old man's face. The man stood, straight and strong, and his torn clothes turned into robes of pure white. You have shown kindness, Adom, and kindness opens many doors. Before Adom could speak, the old man disappeared, and in his place, a small silver key lay on the ground. ESI landed beside it and chirped, This is the key of compassion. You will need it on your journey. Never stop helping others, Adom, for the great light rewards those who show love. Adom picked up the key and placed it carefully in his bundle. The fountain sparkled even brighter, and Adom felt a deep peace in his heart. As he looked down the hill, the path forward seemed clearer than ever. The peaceful moment did not last long. As Adom descended the hill, a chill swept across the path, and the sky turned grey. The light from the lantern dimmed, flickering as though struggling to stay alive. ESI flew in circles, her voice urgent. Adom, be on your guard. The shadows are near. From the mist, dark shapes began to emerge, tall, twisted figures, with glowing eyes and whispering voices. Give up the light, boy, they hissed. You are alone. The great light has forgotten you. Adom held the lantern tightly, but fear not at his heart. The shadows grew closer, their whispers filling his ears. It's all hopeless. Turn back. No one believes in you. Tears filled Adom's eyes. He felt small and helpless. Why is this happening? He cried. Then, deep in his heart, he remembered the hymn he had sung in the hungry river. Taking a shaky breath, Adom began to sing. The light is my strength, my shield, my song. In darkness, the light will carry me along. With every word, the lantern's flame grew brighter, pushing back the shadows. The figures hissed and recoiled, shrinking into the mist until they disappeared completely. ESI landed on Adom's shoulder. Well done, Adom. The shadows will always return, but the light in your heart is stronger than their lies. Adom wiped his tears and nodded. I will keep singing, no matter how dark it gets. Together, they continued down the path, the lantern glowing brighter than before. The path led Adom and ESI into a dense forest, where the trees stretched high into the sky, their branches interlocking like prison bars. Shadows danced across the forest floor, and the air grew heavy with silence. Adom felt uneasy, gripping the lantern tightly, as its glow flickered against the darkness. This is the forest of echoes, ESI whispered. It is said that voices from the past and fears of the future live here. Be careful, Adom. Do not let the echoes confuse your heart. As they ventured deeper into the forest, faint whispers filled the air. At first, Adom could not make out the words, but soon the voices became clear. Adom, you will fail. You are not strong enough. You are just a boy, too small to carry such a great purpose. Adom paused, his breath catching in his throat. The voices sounded like the elders from his village, those who doubted he could make the journey. Then came another voice, a voice that stung deeper. It was his own. Why am I even here? I'll never make it to the kingdom of light. I'm not special enough. I'm too weak. The echoes surrounded him, growing louder with every step. Adom fell to his knees, covering his ears. Stop, he cried. Stop. ESI fluttered above him, her voice cutting through the chaos. Adom. These are only echoes. Lies meant to turn you back. You must remember the truth. Adom squeezed his eyes shut and clutched the lantern. Great light, he whispered, his voice trembling, help me to hear your voice alone. As he prayed, the flame in the lantern grew brighter, burning with a golden warmth that pushed back the shadows. The echoes fell silent one by one, fading into nothingness. Adom stood, his heart steadied, and continued, walking through the forest. ESI landed on his shoulder. Do not let the voices of doubt take root, Adom. The great light speaks truth. Trust in him alone. Adom nodded, his steps growing firmer as they moved through the last of the trees. The echoes could not follow where the light led. Beyond the forest, Adom and ESI descended into a wide valley. The ground here was soft and marshy, covered with pools of water that shimmered faintly under the sun. But something about the valley felt wrong, the air was thick with sorrow, and the sound of quiet sobbing echoed all around. What is this place? Adom asked, his voice low. ESI's wings drooped slightly. This is the Valley of Tears, Adom. Here lie the sorrows of many who gave up their journey. They were overwhelmed by their pain and could not move forward. As they walked, Adom saw shadows of travelers, sitting beside the pools, weeping endlessly. Some whispered words of regret. I am too broken to continue. The great light has forgotten me. There is no hope left for me. Adom's heart ached for them. He stopped beside one figure, a woman with her face hidden in her hands. Why do you weep? Adom asked gently. The woman lifted her head, her hollow eyes filled with despair. I was on the same journey you are now, but my burden became too heavy. The pain was too much, and I could not go on. Adom felt her sorrow deeply, but then he remembered the fountain of kindness and the key of compassion. He knelt beside the woman. Do you know the great light sees your tears? He said softly. He has not forgotten you. He will carry your burdens, if you trust him. The woman stared at him, her eyes widening with surprise. Adom reached into his bundle and held out the silver key. "Come with me," he said. "There is still hope." As soon as he spoke, the pools of water around them began to glow with a soft golden light. The woman's shadowy figure shimmered and slowly rose to her feet. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have reminded me of the truth." With that, she vanished, leaving a faint light behind. ESI chirped approvingly. "You have shown compassion, once again, Adom. The Valley of Tears cannot hold those who remember the great light's love." Adom pressed on, feeling the weight of the valley lift with every step. The sobbing faded, and the path grew clear once more. As evening fell, Adom and ASI arrived at a great iron gate that stretched across the path. It was tall and imposing, covered in rust and thick vines. Beside it stood a figure draped in a dark hooded cloak, holding a staff topped with a glowing red stone. "Who seeks to pass through my gate?" the figure demanded, his voice deep and menacing. Adom stepped forward bravely. "I am Adom, servant of the great light, on my way to the kingdom of light." The figure let out a low, rumbling laugh. "The kingdom of light? Foolish boy. You will never make it. This gate cannot be opened unless you prove your worth." "What must I do?" Adom asked. The keeper raised his staff, and the red stone glowed brighter. "Tell me, why do you seek the kingdom of light? If you answer falsely, the gate will remain closed forever." Adom's heart raced. The keeper's voice seemed to probe his mind, searching for doubts and fears. But Adom remembered all that he had faced, the swamp of deception, the thorns of anger, the river of fear. He thought of his village, of the darkness that had overtaken their hearts, and of the great light that had guided him this far. "I seek the kingdom of light," Adom said firmly, "because my people need hope. They have forgotten the great light's love, and I must bring it back to them. I am small and weak, but I know the light will make me strong." The keeper tilted his head, the red stone dimming slightly. For a long moment, there was silence. Then, with a loud creak, the iron gate began to open. The vines fell away, and the path beyond was revealed. "You have spoken truth," the keeper said, his voice softer now. "Go on, child of the light. But beware, greater trials lie ahead." Adom nodded, stepping through the gate with ESI by his side. The lantern's glow seemed stronger now, illuminating the path ahead. "The trials will come," Adom whispered, "but I will not turn back." ESI chirped in agreement. "Your faith will light the way, Adom. The journey has only begun." Together, they disappeared into the night, the iron gate closing behind them, with a final, echoing clang. The path led Adom to the edge of a deep and wide chasm. On the other side, he could see the trail continuing, but between him and safety stretched an ancient wooden bridge. The ropes creaked in the wind, and the planks looked worn and fragile. A dark mist swirled below the chasm, whispering threats of what lay beneath. ESI perched on Adom's shoulder. "This is the bridge of surrender, Adom. To cross it, you must trust completely in the great light. Many are afraid to step onto it, for the bridge tests the strength of one's faith." Adom stared at the bridge. With every gust of wind, it swayed violently. His heart pounded as he imagined himself falling into the chasm. "Surely there is another way," he muttered. A deep voice echoed through the mist. "There is no other way. Turn back, boy, or fall to your end." Adom's legs shook. The chasm was vast, and the bridge looked too frail to hold him. He turned to ESI. What if it breaks? What if I fall? ESI's eyes glimmered with wisdom. Adom, the great light, has brought you this far. He will not fail you now. Surrender your fear and trust his path. Adom swallowed hard and took a shaky step onto the bridge. The wood groaned beneath his weight, and the ropes trembled. The mist below swirled angrily, and the voice called again, this time more insistent. Foolish boy! You will fall. The great light has abandoned you. Adom squeezed his eyes shut and held the lantern tightly. No, he whispered. The great light is with me. He took another step, then another. The bridge swayed, and the mist below howled, but Adom pressed on. With every step, the light from his lantern grew brighter, steadying the ropes beneath his feet. He opened his eyes and saw that the mist was beginning to fade, burnt away by the lantern's glow. When Adom reached the middle of the bridge, the voice shrieked in rage. You cannot escape me. You are weak. Adom stopped and shouted back, his voice firm and unwavering, I am not alone. The great light is my strength. At that moment, the bridge steadied completely, and the mist vanished. The path ahead looked clear and bright. Adom hurried across the remaining planks and stepped onto solid ground. He turned and saw the bridge glowing softly, a symbol of his faith. ESI landed beside him. Well done, Adom. You surrendered your fear and trusted the great light. Remember this moment when the trials grow harder. Adom nodded, his heart filled with peace. I will never forget. After crossing the bridge of surrender, Adom entered a valley surrounded by towering cliffs. The air was still and heavy, as though the earth itself were holding its breath. Suddenly, a deep rumble shook the ground. Adom looked up to see enormous stone giants rising from the cliffs. Their eyes glowed with red fire, and their voices boomed like thunder. Turn back, little one giant roared. You cannot pass through our valley. Adom clutched the lantern, his heart racing. The giants were larger than anything he had ever seen. Their feet crashed into the earth like hammers, and the ground trembled with every step. What do I do, ESI? Adom cried. ESI's voice was calm and clear. The giants are strong, Adom, but they are made of stone. They only move when you fear them. Stand firm and speak the truth. Adom took a deep breath and stepped forward, holding the lantern high. I will not turn back, he shouted. I walk in the light of the great king. You cannot stop me. The giants roared with fury, but as Adom spoke, cracks began to appear in their stone bodies. With every step he took, the lantern's glow grew brighter, and the giants crumbled, piece by piece. Impossible, one giant bellowed. The light is too strong. Adom's voice rose over their cries. The great light is stronger than any darkness. Finally, the last of the giants fell, their stone bodies shattering into dust. The valley grew quiet, and the path ahead opened once more. ESI chirped proudly. You have learned a great truth, Adom. The enemies of darkness cannot stand against the light. Adom smiled, his faith growing stronger with every trial. I will keep walking, no matter what stands in my way. As Adom and ESI continued their journey, they came upon a lush garden filled with blooming flowers, ripe fruits, and sparkling fountains. Sweet music drifted through the air, and the scent of honey and roses filled Adom's nose. This place is beautiful, Adom said, his voice filled with wonder. Maybe we can rest here. ESI flapped her wings urgently. Be careful, Adom. This is the garden of deception. Everything here is meant to distract you from your journey. Adam hesitated, but he was so tired from the trials that the soft grass and shade seemed too inviting to resist. He sat beneath a tree and took a deep breath. Just for a moment, he whispered. Suddenly, a figure appeared before him, a beautiful woman, dressed in golden robes, her voice as sweet as the music. "Rest, dear boy," she cooed. "You have walked far enough. Why suffer any longer? Stay here, where there is peace and plenty." Adam blinked. "But I must reach the kingdom of light." The woman laughed softly. "Why chase a dream, when you can have comfort now? The journey is too hard. Stay here, where it is easy." Adam's heart wavered. He glanced at the golden lantern, but its light was dimming. ESI chirped urgently. "Adam, remember your purpose. Do not be deceived." Adam shook his head, forcing himself to stand. "No," he said, his voice trembling, but firm. "This place is not real. I cannot stay." The woman's face twisted with anger, and the garden began to wither. The flowers turned to ash, and the fountains dried up. The woman shrieked, "Foolish boy! You will regret this." Adam held the lantern high, and its light blazed once more, scattering the illusion. The garden crumbled into dust, revealing the true path ahead. ESI fluttered to Adam's side. "You have overcome the garden of deception. Always remember, comfort can be the enemy of purpose." Adam nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. "The great light will guide me, no matter how tempting the distractions may be." With renewed determination, he continued down the path, his steps steady and sure. The path before Adam began to rise, and soon he found himself standing at the base of a massive mountain. Its peak was hidden by clouds, and its surface glittered with gold and silver. There were steps carved into the rock, polished and gleaming, leading all the way to the summit. At the foot of the mountain was a large sign that read, "Climb to glory. Here, you shall be honored as the greatest." ESI hovered nervously. "This is the mountain of pride, Adam. Be careful. Many travelers have climbed its steps, hoping for glory, only to lose their way." Adam frowned. "But why would it be dangerous to climb? The steps are smooth, and the mountain looks safe." "The danger lies, not in the climb, but in the heart," ESI replied. "Those who seek glory for themselves forget the true purpose of their journey. They lose sight of the great light." Adam stared at the shimmering steps. He thought of the village elders who doubted him, and of the praise he would receive if he returned home as a hero. The idea was tempting. "Wouldn't it be nice for everyone to admire me?" he thought. Without realizing it, his feet began to climb. Each step felt easy at first, and the higher he went, the stronger his sense of pride grew. Visions began to appear before him, his family praising him, villagers cheering his name, and kings bowing to him in honor. "Look how far you've come," a smooth voice whispered, echoing through the mountain. "You are strong, Adam. You deserve the glory." Adam's heart swelled. He began to imagine himself at the summit, crowned as the greatest traveler of all time. But as he climbed higher, the lantern in his hand grew dimmer. The weight of it pulled at his arm, and he noticed that the smooth steps were becoming steeper and harder to climb. ESI's voice broke through the visions. "Adam, what are you doing? Look at the lantern." Adam blinked, snapping out of his daze. He looked down and gasped. The light in his lantern was barely flickering, and the golden flame was turning gray. Panic shot through him. What am I doing? The glory is a lie. I cried. Turn back before it is too late. Adom hesitated, his pride wrestling with his faith. But deep inside, he remembered the words of the great light, the humble will be lifted, and the proud will fall. I do not need this mountain. Adom shouted. He turned and began to descend, ignoring the angry whispers that hissed in his ears. The steps crumbled behind him as he ran, but he held the lantern tightly. When he finally reached the base of the mountain, the lantern's golden flame blazed to life again, and the whispers vanished into the wind. Esi fluttered to his side, her voice soft but firm. Pride nearly stole your light, Adom. Always remember, your strength comes from the great light, not from yourself. Adom nodded, his face solemn. I will not forget. The journey is not about me, it is about the great king and his truth. As they left the mountain of pride behind, Adom felt humbled, but stronger, ready for whatever lay ahead. The path led Adom and Esi into a small village nestled in a dark valley. The houses were crumbling, and the streets were silent, though faint shapes moved in the corners of Adom's vision. A chill ran down his spine. What is this place? Adom whispered. Esi's wings fluttered anxiously. This is the village of shadows, where doubt and despair cling to the hearts of those who stay too long. As they walked deeper into the village, shadowy figures began to emerge from the darkness. They looked like people, but their eyes were hollow, and their voices were a low murmur. You will never make it to the kingdom of light, a shadow whispered, drifting close to Adom. Why do you even try? Said another, its form flickering like smoke. Turn back before it's too late. Adom felt the weight of their words pressing against him. His feet grew heavy, and doubt crept into his heart. What if they are right? He muttered. What if I cannot finish this journey? Adom. Esi chirped urgently. These shadows speak lies. Do not listen to them. But the shadows grew closer, their whispers turning into shouts. You are weak. You are alone. You will fail. Adom fell to his knees, clutching the lantern as its light began to dim. Great light, he prayed desperately, help me see the truth. At his prayer, a beam of light burst forth from the lantern, cutting through the darkness. The shadows screamed and scattered, their forms dissolving like mist under the morning sun. The village was silent once more, and the streets were clear. Adom stood, his heart strengthened by the light. I will not listen to lies, he said firmly. The great light is my guide, and I will not turn back. Esi landed on his shoulder, her voice warm and encouraging. The shadows cannot stand against the truth. Hold on to it, Adom, no matter how dark the path may seem. Adom nodded and pressed on, leaving the village of shadows behind. Though the journey grew harder, his faith burned brighter, and the lantern's glow led the way forward. Not long after leaving the village, Adom heard the sound of rushing water. He soon arrived at a wide, shimmering river that stretched across the path. The water was clear and calm, but its surface rippled strangely, reflecting not the sky, but the faces of travelers who had come before. This is the river of forgetfulness, Esi said. Those who drink from its waters forget why they ever began their journey. Adom stepped cautiously to the river's edge and peered into its depths. He saw his own reflection staring back, but then the image changed. He saw himself sitting in his village, happy and safe, never having left on this difficult path. The river whispered to him, soft and soothing. Why suffer, Adom? Go back home. Forget this burden. You were happy before. Adam's hand moved toward the water, but he stopped just in time. No, he shouted. I will not drink. The river's surface rippled angrily. Adam gripped the lantern, and its light shone onto the water, turning it dark and murky. The whispers fell silent. You cannot make me forget, Adam said firmly. I know why I am here. I walk for the great light. The river quieted, and a narrow bridge appeared, stretching to the other side. Adam crossed it without hesitation, ESI flying beside him. You were strong, Adam, she said. Never forget your purpose, for that is how the darkness loses its power. Adam smiled faintly. I will remember. I will never stop walking toward the kingdom of light. With every trial, Adam's faith grew deeper, and the golden lantern shone brighter, a beacon of hope in the darkest of places. As Adam continued his journey, the sky darkened, and the wind began to howl. Black clouds rolled in from all sides, and before long, a violent storm surrounded him. Thunder boomed, and lightning flashed across the heavens, revealing twisted faces in the clouds, faces that sneered and shouted at him. You are not worthy, cried one voice. Your sins are too great, hissed another. Adam stumbled as the wind grew stronger, nearly snatching the lantern from his grasp. Rain lashed his face, and the voices only grew louder, circling him like vultures. You have failed before. You will fail again. Adam's knees trembled, and for a moment, he felt small and helpless. The accusation struck at his heart like arrows, dragging up every mistake and doubt he had ever known. What if they are right? He thought. What if I'm not worthy of this journey? ESI clung to his shoulder, her tiny voice rising above the storm. Adam. The great light has called you, not because you are perfect, but because you are willing. Do not listen to the storm, speak the truth. Adam gritted his teeth and gripped the lantern tighter. I am not perfect, he shouted into the wind, but I am chosen. The great light walks with me, and I will not turn back. The storm roared in fury, and the faces in the clouds howled louder. But as Adam spoke, the golden light of the lantern burned brighter, cutting through the darkness like a sword. The voices screeched and began to fade, and the storm began to break apart. I am forgiven. Adam declared, his voice steady and strong. The great king has made me clean, and I will not live in shame. With those words, the last of the clouds shattered, and the wind died away. Sunlight poured down from the heavens, and the path ahead was clear once more. Adam stood tall, his heart at peace. ESI fluttered beside him, her wings glowing faintly. The storm of accusation comes for all who follow the light, but truth will always overcome the lies. Adam smiled. The great light does not call the perfect. He calls those who trust in him. And with that truth firmly in his heart, Adam pressed on, the lantern shining brighter than ever before. The path now led to an enormous iron gate, flanked by statues of warriors holding swords. Above the gate was an inscription carved into stone. Only the righteous may pass. Adam stopped, his eyes narrowing as he read the words. Only the righteous? How can anyone claim to be righteous enough? As soon as he spoke, a voice boomed from the gate. You have come far, but are you worthy to continue? Prove your righteousness or turn back. Adam's heart pounded. He thought of all the mistakes he had made in his life, all the times he had fallen short. Doubt crept into his mind. What if I am not good enough? What if I am turned away? ESI perched on his shoulder. Adam, do not try to prove your worth with your own strength. Remember where your righteousness comes from. Adam closed his eyes and remembered the words of the great light, "It is not by your deeds, but by my grace, that you are made righteous." He stepped forward and spoke with boldness. "I do not come on my own merit. My righteousness comes from the great King, who has forgiven me and called me to walk in his light." For a moment, there was silence. Then, the statues lowered their swords, and the iron gate creaked open, revealing the path ahead. Adam breathed a sigh of relief as he passed through the gate. ESI chirped with joy. "You have spoken the truth, Adam. Those who trust in the great light are made righteous not by their deeds, but by his grace." Adam nodded, his faith deepened by the trial. "I will never forget. It is not who I am, but who he is, that makes me worthy." The gate closed behind them, and Adam felt a new strength in his steps as he continued the journey. The path led Adam into a barren desert, where the sun burned fiercely overhead. The ground was dry and cracked, and there was no shade or water in sight. With each step, the heat sapped his strength, and his thirst grew unbearable. "How much longer must we walk through this place?" Adam asked, his voice hoarse. ESI fluttered weakly beside him. "This is the desert of waiting, Adam. It is a place where patience and trust are tested. Many lose heart here, because the journey feels endless." Adam's feet dragged across the sand. The lantern still glowed, but its light seemed distant, and Adam felt abandoned. He fell to his knees, his voice trembling. "Great light, where are you? I cannot go on." For a long moment, there was no answer. The silence stretched like the endless sand, and Adam's heart sank deeper. But then he remembered the trials he had already faced, the storm, the shadows, the gate. The great light had never truly left him, even when the path was hard. "I will trust you," Adam whispered, his voice barely audible. "Even in this dry and lonely place, I will not give up." As soon as he spoke those words, a cool breeze swept across the desert, and a spring of water burst forth from the ground. Adam stared in wonder as the clear, cool water flowed, filling the cracks and forming a stream that shimmered like silver. ESI drank deeply, her strength returning. "Faith in the waiting brings life, Adam. You trusted, and the great light has provided." Adam cupped the water in his hands and drank, feeling its coolness revive his body and spirit. "Even in the desert, the great light is faithful," he said, his voice steady. The lantern's glow grew brighter, and Adam stood, refreshed and renewed. The desert no longer seemed endless, and he knew that the path would continue as long as he trusted the one who had called him. Together, he and ESI walked onward, the stream of living water flowing beside them, as a reminder that even in the hardest places, the great light never forsakes his own. The barren desert gave way to lush, green fields that stretched as far as the eye could see. In the middle of this vibrant landscape was a beautiful garden, filled with fruit trees, fragrant flowers, and clear streams of water. Birds sang sweet melodies, and butterflies flitted lazily between blooms. Adam and ESI paused at the edge of the garden. "This place is beautiful," Adam said, taking in the scent of blooming roses. "After the desert, I think we deserve to rest here for a while." ESI fluttered uneasily. "Be careful, Adam. This is the garden of distractions. Many travelers have entered this place, only to forget their journey." But Adam was already walking toward a grove of fruit trees. The sight of the ripe, colorful fruit stirred a hunger he hadn't realized he had. He plucked a golden pear and took a bite. The sweetness flooded his senses, and he sighed with pleasure. Surely the great light has provided this place for us to enjoy. A little rest will not hurt. I hovered nervously, watching Adom sink down into the soft grass beneath the shade of the trees. Do not lose track of time, she warned. As Adom reclined, the garden seemed to shift. A soft voice, like a lullaby, floated on the breeze. Stay here, Adom. Why strive so hard when peace is here? The kingdom of light can wait. Hours passed like minutes, and Adom found himself drifting in and out of sleep. The lantern at his side began to dim. In a dreamlike haze, he saw other travelers lounging in the garden, their lanterns long extinguished. They stared blankly at the sky, their faces empty. Adom jolted awake, his heart pounding. What am I doing? He looked down at the lantern, now barely flickering. Panic shot through him. Adom. Yes, I cried, her voice urgent. The garden is stealing your time and purpose. You must get up and leave. Adom dropped the fruit and stumbled to his feet. The garden no longer looked beautiful, the trees now loomed over him like silent sentinels, and the flowers seemed to whisper in mocking tones. I cannot stay here, Adom said firmly, gripping the lantern. I was not called to this place. I have a journey to finish. The voice on the wind grew sharper. You are a fool to leave. Stay, and you will never suffer again. No. Adom shouted, running toward the paths that led out of the garden. The lantern flared to life, its golden glow dispelling the shadows that clung to the trees. When he reached the edge of the garden, the path ahead reappeared, clear and bright. Adom paused to catch his breath, his heart heavy. That was close, I said softly. Distractions are often more dangerous than storms, for they steal your purpose without you even realizing it. Adom nodded, his voice steady. I will not be deceived again. My rest will come when I reach the kingdom of light. Until then, I must keep walking. The garden disappeared behind him, and Adom stepped forward, with renewed focus, the lantern shining brighter once more. The path soon led Adom into a deep valley, surrounded by towering cliffs. The ground trembled with each step he took, and a low rumbling filled the air. Suddenly, massive figures appeared, their shadows stretching across the land. Adom froze. The giants were taller than trees, their forms hulking and powerful. Each one carried a great weapon, a hammer, a sword, or a spear, and their eyes glowed with menace. Who dares enter the valley of giants? One of them boomed, his voice shaking the earth. I whispered in Adom's ear, these are the giants of fear, Adom. They stand in your way, daring you to move forward. Adom's knees shook as the giants advanced. I am no match for them, he whispered. One giant laughed, the sound like thunder. Turn back, little one. You cannot defeat us. We are too strong, and you are too weak. Adom's heart pounded, and he took a step back. But then he remembered the words of the great light, do not fear, for I am with you. I will fight for you. Adom lifted the lantern high, and its golden light shone across the valley. I am not alone, he shouted. The great light is my strength, and I will not turn back. The giants roared in fury, but the light grew brighter, forcing them to stumble and shield their eyes. With each step Adom took forward, the giants seemed to shrink, their weapons falling from their hands. You are not as strong as you seem, Adom declared, his courage rising. Fear has no power over me when the great light walks with me. The giants let out a final roar, before collapsing into dust, their forms scattering on the wind. The valley grew silent, and the path ahead was clear once more. "Esi chirped happily, you face fear," and it fled before the light. The giants only seemed powerful, but they were empty shadows. Adom nodded, his voice steady. "Fear only has power when I let it. I will trust in the great light to fight my battles." With renewed strength, Adom continued through the valley, his faith shining brighter than ever. As evening fell, Adom found himself walking through a peaceful meadow, the stars beginning to shine overhead. The lantern glowed softly, and the night air was cool and calm. But then, a voice rose on the breeze, a haunting melody, filled with sorrow and longing. Adom turned to see an old man, sitting on a rock by the path, playing a flute. His eyes were weary, and his clothes were torn and faded. "Good evening, traveler," the man said softly, his voice echoing with sadness. "What brings you so far from home?" "I walk toward the kingdom of light," Adom replied. The old man shook his head. "Oh, but is it worth it? The journey is long, the trials are many, and the road is filled with pain. Come, sit with me. Let us forget the struggle for a while." Adom hesitated, the sorrow in the man's voice tugging at his heart. "Why do you sit here?" he asked. "Too, once sought the kingdom of light," the man said, his eyes glistening. "But the path was too hard, and the burden too heavy. I gave up, and now I sit here, singing to those who pass by." Adom's heart ached for the man, but he remembered his own journey and how the great light had carried him through every trial. "You do not have to stay here," Adom said gently. "The great light still calls to you. It is not too late to return to the path." The old man looked away, his hands trembling. "I cannot. I am too far gone." "No," Adom said firmly. "The great light is near to all who call upon him. Rise up, and let the light guide you home." For a moment, the man sat in silence. Then, tears filled his eyes, and he whispered, "Do you really believe there is still hope for me?" "I do," Adom said, holding the lantern high. "The great light does not abandon his own." The man stared at the lantern's glow, and for the first time in years, a flicker of hope appeared in his eyes. Adom smiled. "Walk with me. Together, we will press on." The man rose slowly, and though his steps were hesitant, he began to walk beside Adom. Esi fluttered joyfully overhead. "One step at a time," Adom said softly, "until we reach the kingdom of light." As they walked, the song of sorrow faded, replaced by a quiet melody of hope. As Adom and the old man walked together, the path led them to a grand city with golden walls that gleamed under the sunlight. From a distance, they could hear music, laughter, and the hum of bustling life. The gates were wide open, and the people inside looked joyful and carefree. "This city looks welcoming," the old man said, his voice filled with longing. "Perhaps we can rest here." Adom hesitated, his grip tightening on the lantern. "We must be cautious. The journey does not end here." Esi fluttered above and chirped a warning. "This is the city of comfort. It appears peaceful, but its walls are a trap for the weary." But the old man could not resist. "A little rest cannot hurt, Adom. Look at them, they are happy." Without waiting, he hurried through the gates, drawn by the music and merriment. Adom stood at the threshold, torn between his weariness and his mission. The scent of food wafted toward him, and he could see travelers lounging comfortably in gardens and plazas. "It does look peaceful," he murmured. "Adom, do not forget the kingdom of light," Esi said firmly. "This city is not your destination. Adam looked down at the lantern. Though its light still shone, it seemed dimmer, near the city walls. He remembered the garden of distractions and the voices that had nearly stopped him before. Taking a deep breath, Adam stepped back from the gates. I will not stop here. Comfort without purpose will only steal my strength. Just then, a loud shout echoed from inside the city. Adam turned to see the old man standing at the edge of a large fountain, his face pale with realization. Adam! Help me! Adam rushed in, weaving through the crowds of laughing people, who seemed not to notice the old man's distress. What happened? Adam asked, grasping the man's arm. Tears streamed down the man's face. The joy here is empty. I feel hollow, as though I am falling asleep inside myself. I do not want to stay. Adam lifted the lantern high, its golden glow cutting through the strange haze that lingered over the city. Slowly, the laughter and music faded into eerie silence. The people lounging in the gardens and plazas stared blankly ahead, as if trapped in a dream. Come, Adam said urgently. We must leave this place before it is too late. He led the old man back through the gates, and as they stepped onto the path once more, the lantern blazed brighter, restoring warmth to the air. Adam turned back to see the city walls darken and crumble into shadows. ESI perched on Adam's shoulder, her voice soft but resolute. Comfort can be a prison if it makes you forget your calling. The old man sighed deeply, his eyes clearer than before. I was wrong to seek rest in that place. Thank you, Adam, for not leaving me behind. Adam nodded. We will rest when we reach the kingdom of light. Until then, we press on. Together, they walked forward, leaving the illusion of comfort far behind. After hours of walking, Adam and the old man reached the banks of a wide, rushing river. The water sparkled with an otherworldly light, but the current was fierce and wild. A wooden bridge stretched across it, swaying with the wind. On the far side of the river, the path continued, disappearing into a lush forest. But near the bridge stood a hooded figure, draped in a long, grey cloak. The figure's face was hidden, but its voice was smooth and persuasive. You have walked far, the figure said, addressing Adam and the old man. Why cross this dangerous bridge, when you can follow the river downstream? There is an easier way, one without risk or fear. The old man hesitated, his eyes shifting toward the calmer path along the river's edge. It looks safe, he said. Perhaps we should take it. Adam stepped forward, holding up the lantern. The easier path may lead us away from our destination. We were told to follow the straight path. The figure tilted its head and chuckled. The straight path is hard and full of danger. You will stumble, you will fall. Why take such a foolish risk? Adam gripped the lantern tightly. He had faced storms, shadows, giants, and distractions, each one meant to pull him away from his purpose. The great light promised to guide and protect me, Adam said firmly. I will not turn aside, no matter how hard the road. With those words, Adam stepped onto the bridge. The wood creaked under his feet, and the wind howled, but the lantern glowed steadily, lighting his way. Adam, the old man called. It's dangerous. Trust the light. Adam replied, his voice clear above the roar of the river. The hooded figure sneered, its cloak swirling like smoke as it disappeared into the mist. The old man looked back at the calmer path, then at Adam, who was halfway across the bridge. With trembling hands, the old man stepped onto the bridge. I will trust the light, he whispered. As soon as he did, the bridge steadied, and the wind quieted. Together, they crossed to the other side, where the path stretched onward, brighter than before. Adom smiled at the old man. Faith requires trust, even when the way seems hard. The old man nodded, a newfound strength in his eyes. The great light is worth any risk. The path now led Adom and the old man into a dense forest, where shadows danced beneath the trees. The air was heavy, and a strange whispering filled the silence, like the sound of many voices speaking at once. Adom's steps slowed as the whispers grew louder. They sounded familiar, voices he recognized from his past. "You will never succeed," whispered one voice. "You are not good enough," hissed another. The old man clutched his ears. "What is this place?" The voices, they know my fears. Yes, I hovered close to Adom. This is the forest of whispers. The shadows here feed on doubt and fear. Do not listen to them, Adom. But the voices pressed harder, each word slicing at Adom's confidence. He saw images in the shadows, moments of failure, shame, and regret. What if I am not strong enough? He thought. What if I fail before I reach the kingdom of light? Adom. Yes, I cried. Speak truth against the lies. Adom closed his eyes and gripped the lantern tightly. The great light has called me, and he is my strength, he shouted. I will not listen to lies. The lantern's glow burst forth, scattering the shadows and silencing the whispers. The forest grew still, and the path appeared before them once more. Adom turned to the old man. The whispers cannot harm us when we hold fast to the truth. The old man nodded, his face calm. I will not listen to fear anymore. Together, they stepped out of the forest, the lantern's light leading them forward into the night. The forest behind them, Adom and the old man found the path winding steeply upward. Before them loomed a towering mountain, its jagged peaks cutting into the sky. The air grew thin and cold as they climbed, the lantern's glow their only guide. As they ascended, the old man paused, looking at Adom with growing concern. This climb feels endless. Do you think it's worth it? What lies at the top? I do not know, Adom replied, wiping the sweat from his brow. But the path leads this way, and we must follow it. Halfway up the mountain, they came across a plateau. A grand staircase of polished stone rose from the plateau to the peak, and at its base stood a magnificent archway made of gold. Words were etched into the arch, "Here lies the seat of honor. Claim it if you are worthy." Adom stepped closer, but before he could speak, the old man's eyes gleamed. This must be a reward for all we've endured. We have proved ourselves by walking this far. Yes, I flitted nervously, landing on Adom's shoulder. Be careful, Adom. The mountain of pride is not what it seems. Many are drawn to the seat of honor, only to lose their way. But the old man was already climbing the staircase. His steps quickened as he neared the top, and when he reached it, he gasped. At the peak was a throne made of silver and jewels, glittering under the sun. This is where I belong, the old man said, turning to Adom with a triumphant smile. We have traveled far, and I deserve to rest as a king. As he reached out to sit on the throne, the mountain trembled. The polished stone beneath his feet cracked, and the throne began to sink, transforming into blackened rock. The old man stumbled back, his face pale with shock. You seek honor where it is not yours to take, a voice boomed, echoing across the mountain. The seat of pride is a trap for the heart. Adom stepped forward, his lantern glowing brightly. We were not called to rule over others, but to serve and trust the great light. This throne is not our destination. The throne dissolved into dust, and the golden archway shattered. The mountain grew quiet, the air heavy with realization. The old man bowed his head, tears in his eyes. I was foolish. My pride blinded me. Adom placed a hand on the man's shoulder. The great light does not seek perfection, only a humble heart willing to follow. Let us keep moving forward. The two continued their climb, and as they reached the true peak of the mountain, the path ahead appeared brighter than ever. As they descended the far side of the mountain, the path led into a rugged valley filled with sharp rocks and thorny bushes. In the distance, they heard a faint cry for help. Adom quickened his pace, following the sound. In the shadow of a boulder, they found a man lying on the ground, his clothes torn and his face pale. He clutched his side, where blood seeped from a deep wound. His lantern lay, shattered beside him, its light extinguished. "Help me," the man whispered, his voice weak. "I cannot go on." Adom knelt beside him, gently inspecting the wound. "Who did this to you?" "Thieves," the man rasped. "They ambushed me and left me to die." The old man hesitated, glancing at the path ahead. "Adom, we are already delayed. If we stop to help him, we may lose precious time." Adom shook his head. "The great light teaches us to love and care for others, even when it costs us." He tore a strip from his own cloak to bandage the man's wound and shed his water to quench the man's thirst. Esi hovered nearby, her small frame glowing warmly in the fading light. The man looked at Adom with tear-filled eyes. "Why would you stop for me?" So many others passed by, but no one cared. "The journey is not just about reaching the kingdom of light," Adom said gently. "It is about walking in the ways of the great light, showing compassion, mercy, and love." With Adom and the old man's help, the wounded traveler stood, his strength slowly returning. Though his steps were unsteady, the light of Adom's lantern seemed to guide him, even in his weakness. "Walk with us," Adom said, offering his arm. "Together, we will reach the kingdom." As they continued, the wounded traveler's broken lantern began to glow faintly, a sign that hope was being restored in his heart. The travelers soon came to a wide chasm, its depths obscured by swirling mists. The only way across was a narrow bridge, made of blackened wood, its surface slick with dew. Shadows moved within the mist, whispering in low, taunting voices. "This bridge does not look safe," the old man said, peering nervously over the edge. "What if it collapses?" Adom held the lantern high, its glow casting faint light across the bridge. "The great light has brought us this far. We must trust him to carry us safely to the other side." The wounded traveler looked at the bridge, fear etched on his face. "I am too weak to cross. The shadows will swallow me." "You are not alone," Adom said firmly. "We will walk together." Taking the lead, Adom stepped onto the bridge. The wood creaked under his weight, but the lantern's light pushed back the shadows, clearing a path. The old man followed hesitantly, and the wounded traveler leaned on Adom for support. Halfway across, the whispers grew louder, wrapping around them like tendrils. "Turn back," the voices hissed. "You will fall. The kingdom of light is a lie." Adom stopped and lifted the lantern higher. "The great light is truth, and his promises never fail." The shadows recalled, their whispers fading into silence. Slowly, but steadily, the travelers reached the other side of the chasm. Esi chirped happily. The shadows only had power if you believed their lies. Truth will always shine brighter than fear. The wounded traveler looked at Adom with awe. You did not let the shadows stop you. Your faith has strengthened mine. Adom smiled. The journey is not easy, but the great light gives us the strength to press on. With their hearts uplifted, the travelers continued down the path, the lantern's glow lighting the way through the deepening night. The path led the travelers into a lush, vibrant garden. The air was thick with the scent of blooming flowers, and soft, golden light filtered through the trees. Despite its beauty, the garden exuded a strange sadness, as though it were a place of forgotten dreams. At the center of the garden stood a crystal-clear pool. Its surface shimmered like a mirror, reflecting the travelers' faces. The wounded traveler stopped and stared into the water. This place feels familiar, he murmured, his voice trembling. Adom glanced at Esi, who flitted nervously. What is this place? He asked. This is the Garden of Regret, Esi whispered. The pool reveals moments from the past, mistakes, failures, and sins. Many have entered this garden and become trapped by their guilt. The old man stepped closer to the pool, peering into its depths. Suddenly, the water rippled, and an image appeared. It was of a younger version of himself, walking away from his family. He dropped his lantern and shook his head. I abandoned them, he said, his voice breaking. I left when they needed me most. The wounded traveler looked into the pool and saw his own image, a man stealing food from a marketplace, his face twisted with desperation. I was a thief, he whispered. I hurt so many people. Adom felt a pull toward the pool, but Isi chirped sharply, breaking his focus. Do not linger here, Adom. The great light has already forgiven your past. This garden seeks to ensnare you in shame. The old man fell to his knees, his hands covering his face. How can I move forward, knowing what I've done? Adom knelt beside him, holding the lantern close. The great light does not condemn us for our past. He calls us to rise, repent, and walk in His grace. We cannot change what has been, but we can walk faithfully now. Adom turned to the wounded traveler. The journey is not for the perfect, but for those who trust in the great light's mercy. With trembling hands, the old man rose, wiping his tears. I will not let regret hold me captive. I will trust the great light. The wounded traveler nodded, his face resolute. I will walk forward too. I will not let my past define me. As they stepped away from the pool, the flowers in the garden wilted, and the golden light faded. The garden dissolved into shadows, and the path reappeared, clearer than before. Esi chirped softly. The great light restores those who turn to him. Regret is heavy, but grace is stronger. The travelers reached a wide, serene river that sparkled under the moonlight. The current was gentle, and the water's surface reflected the stars above. A wooden raft was tied to the shore, and beside it stood a woman dressed in flowing white robes. Welcome, she said with a smile. This river leads to a place of great peace and fulfillment. Take the raft, and you will find rest from all your burdens. Adom hesitated, the lantern glowing faintly in his hand. This path does not look like the one we were told to follow. The kingdom of light lies ahead, not across this river. The woman's smile widened. The kingdom is far, and the journey is hard. Why not rest for a while? You have already walked so far. Surely the great light would not want you to suffer endlessly. The old man took a step toward the raft, his eyes glimmering with hope. Perhaps this is a gift. Look at the river, it is so calm, so inviting. I chirped anxiously. This is the river of temptation. Many have turned aside here, lured by its false promises. The peace it offers is fleeting, and those who cross it never return. Adom gripped the old man's arm. Do not be deceived. True rest lies in the kingdom of light, not in this illusion. The wounded traveler clutched his broken lantern. But I am so tired. My body aches, and my spirit feels weak. What if we can find peace here? Adom stepped forward, holding the lantern high. The great light has promised to carry us through. He never said the journey would be easy, but he promised it would be worth it. Do not trade eternal joy for momentary relief. The woman's face darkened, her serene smile twisting into a sneer. Foolish boy, she hissed. You cling to your suffering when peace is within your grasp. She reached for the wounded traveler, but the lantern's light flared, forcing her to recoil. The river darkened, its calm surface churning with hidden turbulence. The raft splintered, and the woman vanished into the shadows. The travelers stood in silence, the air heavy with the weight of the moment. The old man looked at Adom, his voice trembling. You were right. I almost gave up everything for a lie. Adom nodded. The great light's path is narrow and hard, but it leads to life. We must keep moving forward. Together, they turned away from the river and continued along the path, their faith strengthened by the trial. The path grew steep again, leading the travelers to a small stone cottage nestled on the hillside. Smoke curled from the chimney, and the warm glow of a fire flickered through the windows. Curious, Adom knocked on the door. It creaked open, and an elderly woman, with kind eyes and a weathered face, stepped out. She carried a large leather-bound book in her arms. Welcome, travelers, she said, her voice soft yet powerful. I am the keeper of the scrolls. Come inside, and I will share the wisdom of the great light. The travelers entered the cozy cottage, where shelves lined with scrolls and books covered the walls. The keeper opened her book and began to read aloud, stories of faith, courage, and redemption. Adom listened intently, his heart stirring at the words. The old man and the wounded traveler sat in silence, their faces reflecting deep thought. These stories are of those who walked the path before you, the keeper explained. They faced trials, temptations, and fears, just as you have. Their testimonies are a reminder that the great light is faithful to those who trust him. The wounded traveler leaned forward. But what if I fail again? What if I am not strong enough to complete the journey? The keeper smiled gently. Strength does not come from within yourself. It comes from the great light. When you are weak, he is strong. Lean on him, and he will carry you. She handed each of them a small scroll. Take these as reminders of his promises. Whenever doubt creeps in, read his words and be renewed. Adom held the scroll tightly, feeling its weight as a symbol of hope. Thank you, he said. Your words have strengthened our resolve. As they stepped back onto the path, the keeper waved from the doorway. Remember, the great light goes with you, even in the darkest places. With renewed faith, the travelers pressed on, the promises of the great light etched deeply into their hearts. The journey soon brought the travelers to an arid desert. The heat was unbearable, and the sun blazed mercilessly, draining their strength with every step. The sand stretched endlessly in all directions, and no landmarks could be seen. It was as though the path had vanished entirely. Adom clutched the lantern tightly, but its glow was faint, struggling against the oppressive sunlight. The old man shaded his eyes with his hand, looking around in desperation. Are we lost? The path is gone. Perhaps we took a wrong turn. ESI fluttered above them, her movements sluggish from the heat. This is the desert of doubt, she said weakly. It seeks to cloud your faith and make you question everything. Many travelers lose hope here and turn back. The wounded traveler sank to his knees, his voice trembling. What if this journey is pointless? What if there is no kingdom of light? Perhaps we've been chasing a dream that isn't real. Adom felt the weight of doubt creeping into his own heart. The lantern flickered in his hand, as though it, too, was losing strength. He closed his eyes, struggling to remember the words of the keeper of the scrolls. Slowly, he pulled out the scroll she had given him and unrolled it. The words shimmered faintly in the sunlight, "The great light is faithful. He will not abandon those who trust him. Even when the path is unclear, walk by faith, not by sight." Adom gripped the scroll tightly and turned to the others. We may not see the path, but that does not mean it isn't there. The great light has brought us this far. He will not abandon us now. The old man looked at the glowing scroll, his face softening. You're right. Doubt is clouding our vision, but the promises of the great light remain true. Adom stood and reached out to the wounded traveler. Rise, my friend. We cannot give up now. The kingdom of light is ahead, even if we cannot see it yet. With great effort, the wounded traveler rose to his feet. Adom held the lantern high, and though its glow was faint, it was enough to reveal faint footprints in the sand. The travelers followed them, each step taken in faith rather than certainty. As they pressed on, the heat began to wane, and the desert's oppressive silence lifted. On the horizon, the faint outline of an oasis appeared, giving them renewed hope. The travelers staggered into the oasis, their bodies weary and their spirits drained. Cool, crystal-clear water flowed in a stream, and the shade of palm trees offered much-needed relief. The air was filled with the sound of birdsong, and the scent of blooming flowers was refreshing. Adom knelt by the stream, cupping water in his hands and drinking deeply. The wounded traveler and the old man followed suit, their faces brightening as strength returned to their limbs. This place feels like a blessing, the old man said, leaning against a tree. Perhaps the great light knew we needed rest. ESI flitted about, her glow restored. Yes, but be cautious. The oasis is a gift, not a destination. Many travelers have mistaken rest for the end of their journey and never left this place. Adom nodded, watching as a man emerged from one of the larger trees. His clothes were fine and clean, and he carried a platter of fruit in his hands. Welcome, travelers, the man said with a warm smile. This oasis is a sanctuary for those who have grown weary. Stay as long as you like. The wounded traveler hesitated, his eyes drawn to the fruit. It would be nice to stay for a while. We've been walking for so long. The man's smile widened. Of course. There is no rush. The kingdom of light will still be there when you are ready. Adom felt unease settle in his chest. He turned to the man. The great light did not promise us endless comfort on this journey. He promised strength to endure and the joy of reaching his kingdom. This oasis is a blessing, but we cannot linger here. The man's smile faltered. Why not stay? The path ahead is full of trials. You have earned rest, haven't you? ESI chirped urgently, landing on Adom's shoulder. This is a test of complacency. Do not lose sight of the goal. Adom, took the old man and the wounded traveler by the hand. This rest is temporary, but the kingdom is eternal. We must move forward. The man scowled, his form flickering like a mirage. Fools, he hissed. You choose suffering over peace. As the travelers turned to leave, the oasis began to fade, its beauty revealing hidden thorns and dry earth. The man disappeared, and the path ahead reappeared, leading them onward. The path led them into a dense forest, where the trees were ancient and tall, their branches forming a canopy that blocked out the sun. The air was cool, but an unsettling stillness hung over the woods. As they walked, faint whispers began to drift through the air. They were soft at first, like the rustling of leaves, but they grew louder, forming words. Turn back, the voices said. You are not strong enough. The kingdom is not meant for people like you. The wounded traveler flinched, covering his ears. What are these voices? Why do they speak such things? ESI's glow dimmed, and she perched on Adom's lantern. This is the Whispering Woods. It feeds on your deepest fears and insecurities. The voices are lies, meant to make you lose heart. The old man stumbled, his face pale. What if they are right? What if we don't belong in the kingdom of light? I've failed too many times. Adom raised the lantern, its light pushing back some of the shadows. Do not listen to the whispers. The great light has called us, not because we are worthy, but because he is merciful. The whispers grew harsher, mocking their every step. You are wasting your time. The kingdom will reject you. Adom gripped his scroll and began to read aloud. The great light is my refuge and strength. He calls me his own, and his promises are unshakable. The whispers faltered, their power weakening as the truth of the great light's words filled the woods. The old man and the wounded traveler joined in, speaking the promises they had learned from the keeper of the scrolls. One by one, the voices fell silent, and the forest seemed to grow brighter. The path ahead became clear, leading them out of the woods. As they emerged, ESI chirped joyfully. The lies of darkness cannot stand against the truth of the great light. You have overcome another trial. The travelers smiled, their hearts lighter as they continued toward the kingdom of light, each step a testament to their growing faith. As the travelers emerged from the whispering woods, they were met with the towering sight of a great mountain. Its peaks pierced the clouds, and the path winding up its side was steep and treacherous. At the base of the mountain stood a simple wooden sign that read, "The Mountain of Surrender, lay down what hinders you." Adom felt the weight of his lantern grow heavier, as though it sensed the significance of the climb ahead. ESI flitted around nervously, her glow dimming. This is one of the hardest trials on the journey, she whispered. The mountain demands complete surrender of anything that burdens your heart. The old man sighed deeply, staring up at the summit. What must we surrender? He asked. Anything that keeps you from trusting the great light fully, ESI explained. Many cannot make the climb because they refuse to let go. The travelers exchanged uneasy glances, but began the ascent. The first steps were manageable, but as they climbed higher, the air grew thin, and the path narrowed. Each step seemed to press down on their spirits, bringing old fears and doubts to the surface. The wounded traveler stumbled, clutching his side. I don't think I can do this. I've carried guilt for so long, how can I let it go? Adom stopped and placed a hand on his shoulder. The great light does not ask us to carry our burdens forever. He asks us to lay them down at his feet, to trust that he is enough. The wounded traveler nodded hesitantly, reaching into his satchel and pulling out a small stone. This represents my shame, he said, his voice breaking. I've carried it with me all this time, afraid to let it go. With trembling hands, he placed the stone on the path. Instantly, his steps grew lighter, and his face seemed brighter. I feel free, he whispered. Encouraged by his companion's courage, the old man knelt and removed a tattered scarf from around his neck. This scarf belonged to my son. I've carried it as a reminder of my failure to protect him. But I see now that holding onto it has only weighed me down. He laid the scarf beside the stone, and the burden in his expression lifted. Adom looked at his own lantern, feeling the heaviness in his heart. I've been afraid of failing, of not being strong enough to finish this journey. But the great light has been my strength all along. He knelt and whispered a prayer, surrendering his fears. As he rose, the lantern grew brighter, illuminating the path ahead. With renewed determination, the travelers pressed on, each step filled with the peace that comes from surrender. As they neared the summit, the travelers encountered a massive gate made of iron and gold. It was adorned with intricate carvings of vines and stars, and at its center was a glowing emblem of the great light. The gate seemed alive, pulsing faintly with power. Esi landed on Adom's shoulder, her voice tinged with both excitement and caution. This is the gate of testing. It will examine your hearts to see if you are ready to continue. Only those who are faithful and willing to trust the great light completely may pass. The travelers exchanged uneasy glances. The old man stepped forward first, placing his hand on the gate. At once, the carvings began to glow, and a voice spoke, not aloud, but directly into his heart. Do you trust the great light enough to leave your past behind? The old man hesitated, memories of his failures flashing before him. But then he remembered the peace he had felt after laying down his scarf. Yes, he said firmly. I trust him. The gate hummed and opened slightly, allowing him to pass through. Next, the wounded traveler approached. The voice echoed in his heart, do you trust the great light to heal what is broken? Tears filled his eyes, but he nodded. I trust him. The gate opened further, and he stepped through. Finally, it was Adom's turn. As he placed his hand on the gate, the voice asked, do you trust the great light enough to follow him, even when the way is unclear? Adom's heart raced as he remembered the trials they had faced, the desert of doubt, the river of temptation, and the garden of regret. He had struggled with fear and uncertainty, but through it all, the great light had been faithful. Yes, he said, his voice steady. I trust him. The gate opened fully, and Adom stepped through, joining the others on the other side. As they looked back, the gate closed behind them, sealing the paths they had traveled. Ahead, the final stretch of the journey awaited, and the light of the kingdom could be seen faintly in the distance. Though the kingdom of light seemed closer than ever, the path now descended into a dark and foreboding valley. Thick mist swirled around their feet, and the air was heavy with an unnatural stillness. This is the Valley of Shadows, Esi said, her voice low. It is the last great trial before reaching the kingdom. The darkness here will try to extinguish the light within you. You must hold fast to your faith. The travelers entered the valley, their lanterns flickering weakly. Shadows danced along the edges of the path, whispering threats and lies. The old man clung tightly to his lantern, muttering prayers under his breath. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the mist, shrouded in darkness. Its voice was deep and chilling. Turn back, it said. The kingdom of light is not for the likes of you. You are weak, unworthy, and broken. Adom stepped forward, holding his lantern high. "You are a liar. The great light has called us, not because of our worthiness, but because of his mercy." The figure recoiled, but the shadows around it thickened, reaching toward the travelers. The wounded traveler cried out, fear gripping his heart. Adom took the scroll from his satchel and began to read aloud, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." The light from his lantern flared, pushing back the shadows. The old man and the wounded traveler joined in, speaking the words of the great light. The figure let out a piercing scream and dissolved into the mist. The valley grew brighter, and the path ahead became visible once more. As they reached the edge of the valley, Esi chirped with relief. "You have passed through the darkest trial. The kingdom is near." The travelers smiled, their faith stronger than ever. They could feel the warmth of the kingdom's light, calling them forward. The travelers emerged from the valley of shadows, their hearts lifted as they saw the kingdom of light glowing on the horizon. Its radiance was breathtaking, a city of golden towers and pearly gates, surrounded by a light so pure it filled the soul with peace. Yet, between them and the kingdom, stood one final obstacle, a vast canyon that seemed to stretch endlessly in both directions. Spanning the canyon was a narrow bridge made of what looked like woven light. It shimmered in the air, almost intangible, as though it might vanish at any moment. Beside the bridge was a small sign that read, "The Bridge of Trust, step forward in faith." The old man approached the edge and peered into the abyss below. There was no visible bottom, only swirling darkness. "This bridge, it looks like it could collapse at any moment. How can we trust it to hold us?" Esi fluttered above the bridge, her wings glowing faintly. "The bridge of trust can only hold those who believe the great light will carry them. If your faith falters, the bridge will weaken." The wounded traveler hesitated, looking at his companions. "What if I fall? I've doubted so many times. What if I'm not strong enough to make it across?" Adom stepped forward, holding his lantern high. "It's not about our strength, it's about trusting the great light to carry us. He has brought us through every trial so far. He will not fail us now." With a deep breath, Adom placed his foot on the bridge. It wavered slightly beneath him, but as he stepped forward, it grew firmer, the light beneath his feet glowing brighter. "The bridge will hold. Come, follow me." The old man followed, his steps shaky at first, but as he moved forward, his confidence grew. The wounded traveler hesitated at the edge, fear gripping his heart. "I can't do it," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "I've failed too many times. What if the bridge knows my doubt?" Adom turned back, his voice gentle but firm. "The great light doesn't expect us to be perfect. He only asks us to trust him. Take the first step, he will do the rest." Trembling, the wounded traveler took a tentative step onto the bridge. It wavered beneath him, but as he clung to Adom's words and whispered a prayer, the light grew stronger, steadying the bridge beneath his feet. Step by step, the travelers crossed the bridge together, the warmth of the kingdom's light drawing them closer. As they reached the other side, the bridge dissolved into the air, leaving the canyon behind them. The travelers stood before the towering gates of the kingdom of light. They were magnificent, carved from pure gold and adorned with gemstones that sparkled like stars. The gates were slightly ajar, and a warm, inviting light poured through the opening. Esi landed on Adom's shoulder, her wings fluttering with excitement. "You've made it. The kingdom of light is just beyond these gates." The old man knelt, tears streaming down his face. I never thought I'd see this day. I've been weighed down by so much guilt and pain, but the great light never gave up on me." The wounded traveler looked at the gates, his expression filled with wonder. "Do you think they'll let us in? After all we've been through, I still feel unworthy." Adom placed a hand on his shoulder. "The great light called us here. His grace has brought us this far, and His grace will bring us through these gates." As they approached, a figure clothed in radiant light stepped forward. His face was kind, and his voice was gentle but powerful. "Welcome, travelers. The great light has been with you every step of your journey. You have passed through the trials and kept your faith. Now, enter into His eternal joy." The travelers hesitated, overwhelmed by the beauty and majesty of the moment. But as the gates swung open fully, they felt a surge of peace and joy unlike anything they had ever known. One by one, they stepped through the gates and into the kingdom of light, their burdens gone and their hearts filled with the warmth of the great light's presence. Inside the gates, the travelers found themselves in a city beyond imagination. The streets were paved with gold, and the air was filled with the sound of joyous singing. Trees laden with fruit lined the paths, and streams of living water flowed through the city. Everywhere they looked, the light of the great light filled the atmosphere, bringing life and peace. A crowd of people dressed in white robes came forward to greet them, their faces shining with joy. Among them were figures the travelers recognized, loved ones who had gone before them, their faces now free of pain and sorrow. The old man fell to his knees as a young boy ran to him, his face glowing with joy. "Father," the boy cried, embracing him tightly. "You made it." The old man wept openly, his heart overflowing with gratitude. "The great light has been so merciful. I am finally home." The wounded traveler, too, was greeted by familiar faces. Those he had wronged and those who had wronged him embraced him warmly, their hearts filled with forgiveness and love. "Your wounds are healed," one of them said, and as the traveler looked down, he saw that his scars had disappeared. Adom stood in awe, taking in the beauty of the kingdom. He felt a hand on his shoulder and turned to see the figure of the great light standing before him, his presence filling Adom with peace. "Well done, faithful one," the great light said, his voice full of love. "You have journeyed far, and your faith has been steadfast. Now, enter into my joy and rest." Adom knelt, tears streaming down his face. "All glory belongs to you, my Lord. You carried me through every trial. I am here because of your mercy." The great light lifted him to his feet. "Your journey has only just begun. There is much more to discover in my kingdom." As the travelers joined the celebration, the sound of music and laughter filled the air. They knew that this was not the end of their story, but the beginning of an eternal adventure in the presence of the great light. The travelers were guided by the citizens of the kingdom to a grand hall that seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction. The walls shimmered like crystal, reflecting the light of the great light, and the air was filled with the fragrance of flowers and spices. A massive banquet table stood at the center, laden with food and drink unlike anything they had ever seen. Esi, still perched on Adom's shoulder, whispered, "This is the banquet of the redeemed. It is held in honor of all who have endured the trials and placed their trust in the great light." Adom and his companions were seated among others who had completed their journeys. The old man marveled at the joy on everyone's faces. There were no signs of sorrow, no burdens weighing anyone down. This is what I've longed for my entire life," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. As they sat, the great light himself entered the hall, and every voice fell silent. His presence was overwhelming, radiating love, peace, and majesty. "Welcome, my children," he said, his voice warm and inviting. "You have journeyed through trials, faced your fears, and trusted me. Now, you will dwell in my presence forever." The wounded traveler, still in awe of his transformation, asked, "Why would you do all this for us? We are so undeserving." The great light smiled, and his gaze softened. "Because I love you. Before the foundation of the world, I prepared this place for you. It was never about your worthiness, but about my love and grace." The banquet began, and the travelers tasted the food, which filled them with strength and joy. Laughter and singing echoed through the hall as the redeemed shared stories of their journeys, each one a testament to the faithfulness of the great light. For the first time, Adom felt completely whole. The weight of his doubts, fears, and past failures was gone, replaced by a deep sense of belonging. After the banquet, the great light led the travelers to a room filled with books and scrolls. The shelves seemed endless, stretching into the heavens. Each scroll glowed faintly, as though alive with the breath of the great light. "These are the scrolls of eternal purpose," the great light explained. "Each one contains the story of those who have trusted me and entered my kingdom. But it also contains what is yet to come, your eternal purpose, in my kingdom." Adom hesitated as the great light handed him a scroll. His name was written on it in golden letters, and as he unrolled it, he saw the story of his journey, every trial, every moment of doubt, every victory. He marveled at how even the smallest details had been woven into a greater plan. Then, as he read further, he saw something new, a glimpse of his future in the kingdom. He saw himself teaching others, who were beginning their journeys, guiding them through their trials and sharing the lessons he had learned. "You mean, my story isn't over?" Adom asked, his voice filled with wonder. The great light nodded. "Your journey on the narrow path was only the beginning. In my kingdom, there is no end to the purpose I have for you. You will grow, explore, and serve in ways you cannot yet imagine." The old man and the wounded traveler also received their scrolls, and as they read, their faces lit up with joy. The old man saw himself reunited with his son, serving as a caretaker in the gardens of the kingdom. The wounded traveler saw himself as a healer, comforting those who arrive in the kingdom with heavy hearts. Each of them realized that their trials had prepared them for their eternal roles, and their hearts swelled with gratitude. Days turned into weeks, though time in the kingdom felt different, eternal, yet fresh and new, with every passing moment. The travelers began exploring the kingdom, discovering its endless beauty. They walked through fields of flowers that sang softly as the breeze passed through them. They climbed mountains that glowed with the light of the great light, their peaks offering views of endless horizons. They swam in rivers of living water that refreshed not only their bodies, but their souls. Adom often found himself drawn to the gates of the kingdom, where he saw new travelers arriving. Some were weary and broken, others filled with joy, but all were welcomed with open arms. One day, Esi landed on his shoulder and said, "Do you remember the lantern you carried on the narrow path?" Adom nodded, the memory filling him with warmth. "It was my guide, my reminder of the great light's presence." Esi smiled. "You've become a lantern yourself, Adom. Your story will light the way for others, just as the great light lit the way for you." Moved by her words, Adom knelt and prayed. "Great light, use me for your glory. Let my life be a reflection of your love and grace." One day, the great light summoned Adom and his companions to the edge of the kingdom. Beyond the golden fields, they saw a vast, glowing horizon that seemed to call to them. "This is the horizon of eternity," the great light said. "It is a reminder that my kingdom is ever expanding. There are realms yet unexplored, mysteries yet to be revealed, and purposes yet to be fulfilled. You are invited to journey further, to see and experience more of my glory. Adom's heart leapt with excitement. He looked at the old man and the wounded traveler, who both nodded eagerly. They knew that their time of rest in the kingdom had prepared them for something greater. As they stepped toward the horizon, the great light's voice echoed in their hearts, "Fear not, for I am with you always. My light will guide you, and my love will sustain you." The travelers took their first steps into the unknown, their hearts filled with anticipation for the endless journey ahead. They knew that as long as they followed the great light, they would never be lost. And so, Adom and his companions continued their journey, not as weary travelers, but as citizens of the kingdom, bearers of the great light. They carried his love and truth into every new realm, their faith growing stronger with each step. Their story became part of a greater story, one that would never end, a story of redemption, grace, and the unending love of the great light. For in the kingdom of light, there is no darkness, no sorrow, and no end to the wonders of the great light's presence. And so, their journey continued, forever and ever. As Adom and his companions stepped toward the horizon of eternity, they were guided by a path of glowing stones that led to a lush, verdant garden. The air here was filled with the hum of life, birds with shimmering feathers sang songs that resonated deep within the soul, and flowers swayed as if alive, whispering soft melodies of peace. Esi fluttered ahead, her small wings radiating joy. "This is the garden of healing," she said. "Every soul who enters the kingdom carries scars, some visible, others hidden in their hearts. This garden was made to restore and strengthen, preparing all who pass through for the greater purposes that lie ahead." Adom and his companions wandered through the garden, each drawn to different areas. The old man found himself by a clear, bubbling stream. As he knelt to drink from its waters, memories of his past, a life marked by regret and brokenness, flooded his mind. But instead of sorrow, he felt gratitude. The waters seemed to wash away not only his thirst, but the remnants of pain lingering in his heart. The wounded traveler, now healed in body, stood before a towering tree with golden leaves. Each leaf seemed to pulse with light, and as he reached out to touch one, a vision unfolded before him. He saw a long line of people in a distant realm, all searching for the light, but stumbling in darkness. Among them was someone he recognized, a friend he had wronged long ago, their face weary yet hopeful. "The great light is calling me to help them," he murmured, turning to Adom. "My story isn't just for me. It's meant to guide others." Adom nodded. "The great light brought us here for a reason. Our journeys prepared us to be vessels of his love." Beyond the garden, they entered a forest unlike any they had seen before. The trees were immense, their trunks glowing faintly, as if holding the stories of countless lives. As they walked, the travelers noticed glowing orbs hovering between the branches. Each orb contained a vision, a memory of someone's journey to the kingdom. Adom paused before one orb that caught his eye. Inside, he saw a young girl kneeling in a dark room, her hands clasped in prayer. Despite her circumstances, her face was radiant with hope. "She's calling out to the great light," Adom said softly. "Yes, I perched on a branch nearby. She's still on her journey. Many on the narrow path face darkness and trials, just as you did. The great light allows you to see their stories, so you can intercede for them." Adom knelt and prayed for the girl, his heart filled with compassion. The wounded traveler and the old man followed suit, each drawn to different orbs, lifting up prayers for those still walking the narrow path. The great light's voice filled the air, gentle yet powerful, your prayers strengthen the weary and guide the lost. Though you dwell in my kingdom, your love reaches beyond its gates. After leaving the forest, the travelers arrived at a towering structure that overlooked an endless sea. The lighthouse of eternity stood tall, its golden light piercing through the horizon and reaching realms far beyond the kingdom. Inside, they found others, citizens of the kingdom, tending to the light. Some were polishing the great mirrors that reflected its glow, while others adjusted intricate mechanisms that ensured the light remained steady. One of the keepers approached them, his face glowing with kindness. This light is the beacon of the great light's love. It shines into the darkest corners of existence, calling lost souls to the kingdom. All who dwell here are invited to tend the light, to be part of its work. Adom felt a stirring in his heart. How can we serve? He asked. The keeper handed him a small, glowing lantern. Carry this light into the unseen realms. There are places where the darkness is thick, and the lost cannot see the path. Your journey has prepared you to bring hope to those who need it most. The old man and the wounded traveler also received lanterns, each one uniquely shaped to reflect their individual stories. As they held them, the light seemed to flow through them, filling them with renewed purpose. With their lanterns in hand, the travelers stood before a shimmering veil of light, the gateway to the realms beyond the kingdom. Esi fluttered beside Adom, her wings glowing brighter than ever. This is the great light's invitation to continue your journey. The kingdom is your home, but your purpose extends far beyond its gates. The wounded traveler hesitated. Will we face trials again? Will there be darkness waiting for us? The great light's voice surrounded them, reassuring and strong. You may encounter shadows, but my light is within you. You are never alone. Go, and let my love shine through you. With those words, the travelers stepped through the veil. On the other side, they found themselves in a land unlike any they had seen. It was beautiful but dim, as though the light had been obscured. People wandered aimlessly, their eyes searching for something they could not find. Adom lifted his lantern, and its light pierced the dimness, drawing the attention of those nearby. Slowly, the people began to gather, their faces filled with hope as they stepped into the light. Tell us about this light, one of them said. Adom smiled, his voice steady. This is the light of the great light, who loves you and has prepared a place for you. Follow it, and you will find your way home. As the travelers moved through the realms, their lanterns grew brighter with each soul that embraced the light. They were no longer just travelers, they were ambassadors of the great light, carrying his love to places where it had been forgotten. The wounded traveler found himself drawn to those who carried scars like his own, sharing his story and showing them that the great light could heal even the deepest wounds. The old man became a guide for the weary, offering wisdom and encouragement to those who felt they couldn't go on. Adom, with Esi by his side, became a teacher, leading groups of people on paths toward the kingdom. His lantern never dimmed, a constant reminder of the great light's presence. Though the realms were vast and the work unending, the travelers never grew tired. The great light sustained them, and their hearts were filled with joy as they saw lives transformed. Adom, the old man, and the wounded traveler were sent on their first mission beyond the initial realm of dim light. They entered a mysterious land known as the Shrouded Valley, where heavy mist obscured everything, and the air was thick with despair. The people here wandered aimlessly, their faces blank and eyes dimmed by hopelessness. Esi fluttered beside Adom, her usually vibrant glow reduced to a faint shimmer. The mist here is not natural, she whispered. It feeds on fear and doubt, keeping the people from seeing the light. Adom raised his lantern, but its glow struggled against the mist. The old man knelt to pray, asking the great light for guidance. Suddenly, the wounded traveler spoke. "We must speak hope. The mist grows stronger when silence reigns, but hope will break it." Taking a deep breath, Adom began to sing a song of the great light, one he had learned during his own trials on the narrow path. The melody was soft at first, but it carried through the valley, and the mist began to thin. The people stopped and turned toward the sound, their eyes flickering with faint sparks of recognition. "What is that song?" one of them asked, their voice trembling. "It is the song of the great light," Adom replied, stepping forward. "He has not forgotten you. His light can pierce even this mist." The travelers continued singing and speaking words of hope, and as they did, the mist retreated further. One by one, the people began to follow them, their steps hesitant but growing steadier with each passing moment. As they led the people out of the valley, the travelers encountered a towering figure, blocking the way. It was the keeper of chains, a dark, menacing being draped in heavy chains that rattled with every movement. "You have no right to take them," it growled, its voice echoing like thunder. "They belong to the darkness." Fear gripped the group, but Adom stepped forward, his lantern shining brighter than before. "They belong to the great light," he declared. "Your chains have no power over those who walk in his light." The keeper laughed, the sound reverberating through the valley. "You think your small light can break these chains? Many have tried and failed." The wounded traveler, remembering his own chains from the past, spoke boldly. "The great light broke mine, and he will break theirs too. His power is greater than your lies." As he spoke, the chains around the keeper began to tremble. The travelers raised their lanterns in unison, their light merging into a single, radiant beam that struck the keeper. The chains shattered, and the figure dissolved into shadows, defeated by the truth of the great light. The people, now free from the mist and fear, began to sing the song of hope themselves. Their voices filled the valley, transforming it into a place of light and joy. With their first mission completed, the travelers were drawn to a hidden tower that rose suddenly from the ground. It was made of black stone, its surface smooth and unyielding. Esi flew to the top, but her glow dimmed as she neared the tower. "There is something sealed within," she said. "Something ancient and bound by darkness." The great light's voice filled their hearts. "Inside this tower is a guardian of lost knowledge, truths hidden by the darkness to keep my people bound in ignorance. Your task is to set him free." The old man, drawing on his newfound wisdom, inspected the tower. He found inscriptions on its surface, written in a language he had never seen, but somehow understood. "These are prayers," he said. "But they've been twisted by doubt and fear. We must speak the truth to untangle them." Together, the travelers spoke words of faith and love, countering each twisted prayer with the promises of the great light. Slowly, the black stone began to crack, and the tower crumbled, revealing an ancient figure within, a guardian cloaked in golden robes, his eyes glowing with wisdom. "Thank you," the guardian said, his voice deep and resonant. "I have waited for aeons, for the chains of darkness to be broken. Now, I will guide you to the hall of eternal knowledge, where truths hidden since the beginning of time await you." The guardian led them to a magnificent hall that shimmered with golden light. Shelves upon shelves of glowing scrolls lined the walls, each one containing revelations about the great light's plan for creation. The air was thick with the presence of wisdom, and the travelers felt both awe and humility. Adom approached a scroll that seemed to call to him. As he opened it, visions flooded his mind, visions of a world bound in darkness, yet filled with people crying out for hope. He saw himself leading others, not just in the realms beyond the kingdom, but in realms yet to be created. The old man and the wounded traveler also found scrolls that revealed their deeper purposes. The old man saw himself planting seeds of hope in barren lands, while the wounded traveler saw himself becoming a bridge for the lost, helping them cross from despair into the light. The guardian spoke. These scrolls are glimpses of what lies ahead. The Great Light's plan is vast, and his kingdom is ever expanding. Your journeys have only just begun. As they left the Hall of Eternal Knowledge, the Great Light gave them a new command: go forth and create. I have placed my light within you, and through you, new realms will be born. The travelers were filled with wonder. Create. But how? Adom asked. The Great Light's voice was gentle. Speak life into existence, as I did. Let your words, your faith, and your love shape the realms. What you create will reflect my glory and draw others to me. Together, the travelers began to speak, their words forming landscapes, rivers, and skies. Adom's lantern poured light into the darkness, creating stars that danced across the heavens. The old man's hands brought forth trees and fields, while the wounded traveler's voice gave rise to streams and valleys. As their creations took shape, they saw people begin to emerge, souls drawn by the light, ready to embark on their own journeys toward the kingdom. As the travelers continued to create, they noticed something peculiar. The realms they spoke into existence shimmered like glass, mirroring not just the Great Light's glory, but also their own hearts. Each realm reflected their faith, their victories, and even the struggles they had faced on their journey. Adom's realm was filled with rolling hills of golden light, vast rivers flowing endlessly, and skies painted with hues of dawn. Yet, at its center, stood a solitary mountain, wreathed in clouds. Adom felt a stirring in his spirit. This mountain reflects the moments when I doubted, when I questioned the Great Light's presence, during my darkest trials. Why is it here? The Great Light's voice filled the air, patient and kind. Every creation reflects its creator. The mountain is not a mark of shame, but a testimony of your growth. It reminds all who see it that faith is forged in the fire of trials. The old man's realm, by contrast, was a forest of endless trees, their roots intertwined beneath the ground. Each tree bore fruit that glowed faintly, and as people wandered into the forest, they picked the fruit and were filled with strength and hope. The old man realized that the forest mirrored his wisdom, grown from years of reflection and prayer. The wounded traveler's realm was a valley crisscrossed by countless bridges, each one leading from shadows into light. He wept as he saw people walking across the bridges, their faces lighting up as they stepped into freedom. This is my story, he said. Once bound, now free, and helping others find the same. ESI flitted between the realms, her glow brighter than ever. The Great Light is showing you that even as you create, you are still being shaped. Your work is not just for others, it is transforming you too. As their realms expanded, the travelers noticed storm clouds gathering at the edges of their creations. These clouds were darker than anything they had seen before, swirling with malevolent force. From the shadows emerged beings, unlike the keeper of chains. These were not bound by chains, but wielded weapons of lies and confusion, seeking to tear down the new realms. One of the beings, cloaked in twisting shadows, addressed Adom. You think your light is eternal? This realm you've created is fragile. It will shatter under the weight of doubt. Adom raised his lantern, but the shadow being only laughed, its form slipping away like smoke. You cannot fight us with light alone. We are born from doubt, fear, and pride, things that exist even in the hearts of creators like you. Adam felt a pang of truth in its words and faltered for a moment. But the old man stepped forward, his voice calm and steady. It is not by our power that these realms stand, but by the great lights. We are merely his vessels. The travelers joined hands, their lanterns shining as one. Great light, we trust in you. Strengthen us for this battle, they prayed. The great light's presence surrounded them, filling their hearts with peace. Speak my truth into the storm, and it will obey. Adam, emboldened by the great light's words, stepped forward. You are lies, but the truth is stronger. This realm belongs to the great light, and no shadow can overcome it. The words rippled through the storm, and the shadows recoiled, unable to stand against the truth. The travelers continued, speaking words of faith and love, and the storm dissipated, leaving their realms shining brighter than before. With the storm defeated, the travelers were invited to journey further into a mysterious realm known as the River of Time. This river was unlike any they had seen before. Its waters shimmered with countless images, each one a moment from the past, present, or future. Esi perched on Adam's shoulder, her wings trembling with excitement. This river connects all of creation, she said. It shows how the great light has worked through every moment, weaving together a story far greater than we can imagine. Adam knelt by the riverbank and peered into the water. He saw his own life unfold before him, the moments of despair when he had cried out to the great light, the times when he had felt unworthy, and the many small acts of faith that had brought him to this moment. Tears filled his eyes as he realized how intricately the great light had guided his steps. The old man gazed into the river and saw a vision of the future. He saw his forest growing even larger, its roots spreading into realms yet untouched by the light. He also saw himself teaching others how to cultivate their own forests, passing on the wisdom he had gained. The wounded traveler hesitated before looking into the river, fearing what he might see. But when he finally peered into the waters, he saw himself standing on one of his bridges, surrounded by countless souls who had found their way to the kingdom because of his story. He wept, overwhelmed by the grace of the great light. The great light's voice spoke to them. This river flows endlessly, a reminder that every moment, every act of faith, is part of my greater purpose. Trust in me, and your light will continue to shine, even in ways you cannot yet see. As they continued their journey, the travelers met a group of beings known as the Guardians of the Flame. These guardians carried torches that burned with a fire unlike any other, blue and white, a flame of purity and passion. One of the guardians, a tall figure clad in golden armor, approached them. You have been chosen to carry the eternal flame, he said. It is a gift from the great light, meant to strengthen your lanterns and empower you to face even greater darkness. The guardians handed each of them a torch, and as they took hold of the flames, they felt a surge of power. Their lanterns glowed brighter, their light now infused with the purity of the eternal flame. The guardian continued, with this flame, you will not only create, but also refine. Your light will expose and burn away the impurities that hinder others from seeing the great light. But be warned, the greater your flame, the more fiercely the shadows will oppose you. Adam, the old man, and the wounded traveler accepted the challenge, their hearts filled with resolve. We carry this flame, not for our glory, but for the glory of the great light, they said in unison. With their lanterns now infused with the eternal flame, the travelers ventured into a new realm, a place where the air seemed to shimmer with unseen tension. It was a barren wasteland, dotted with ruins of what once seemed to be thriving cities. The ground was cracked, and the skies hung low, heavy with ash. ESI flew ahead, her wings glowing faintly as she scouted the area. "This place was once full of light," she whispered. "But pride and selfishness allowed darkness to creep in. The light here wasn't extinguished, it was corrupted." The travelers looked around and saw shadowy figures moving among the ruins. These were not like the people they had encountered before. Their forms were twisted and faintly glowing, as if they had once been bearers of the light, but had been overtaken by darkness. The great light's voice came to them, steady and clear. "This is the realm of the lukewarm, those who carried my light, but allowed it to grow dim, through complacency and sin. They still carry a spark, but it is buried under layers of pride, fear, and deceit. Use the eternal flame to refine them, for some can still be restored." Adom's heart ached at the sight. How do we help them? The flame burns impurities, but won't it hurt them? Yes, the great light answered. But pain is often the beginning of restoration. Speak truth to them and light your flames. They must choose whether to let go of the darkness or remain bound by it. The travelers approached the nearest shadow figure, who was crouched beside the ruins of what appeared to be a temple. As they neared, the figure flinched and snarled. Its voice was harsh, but laced with a strange sorrow. "Go away. Your light burns, it's unbearable." Adom stepped forward, his lantern glowing. "We come to help, not harm. You still carry the spark of the great light. Let us help you uncover it." The figure turned its face toward him, revealing eyes that flickered faintly with light, surrounded by shadows. "You don't understand. I once carried the light, but I failed. I let pride take over, and now I am unworthy." The wounded traveler knelt beside the figure, holding out his lantern. "I know what it means to feel unworthy. I was once bound in chains of shame and despair, but the great light restored me. He can restore you too." The figure hesitated, its shadowy form trembling. "What must I do?" "Allow the flame to burn away the darkness," Adom said gently. "It will hurt, but it is the only way to be free." The figure nodded reluctantly, and Adom held his lantern close, letting the eternal flame touch the shadows. A piercing cry echoed through the air as the darkness burned away, revealing a being of radiant light beneath. The figure collapsed, trembling, but free, its glow now shining brightly. I'm free," it whispered, tears streaming down its face. "Thank you." Not all the lukewarm were as willing to be refined. As the travelers moved through the ruins, many shadowy figures fled from their flames, unwilling to face the pain of restoration. Others grew hostile, their pride twisting them into aggressive forms. One such figure, larger and more menacing than the others, confronted them near the center of the ruins. "You think you can save us all?" it snarled. "You are fools. The great light may forgive, but we are beyond saving. Leave us to our fate." The old man stepped forward, his voice steady. "No one is beyond saving. It is your choice whether to accept the light or remain in darkness, but we will not stop offering it." The figure roared and lunged at them, but as it neared the traveler's flames, it recalled, the light too intense for it to bear. "You cannot force us," it spat before disappearing into the shadows. Adom lowered his lantern, his heart heavy. What happens to those who refuse the flame? The great light's voice answered, gentle but firm. They remain as they are, prisoners of their own pride and fear. My light is always available, but it cannot enter a heart that refuses to open. Grieve for them, but do not carry their burden. Your task is to offer the light, not to force it. The travelers nodded, their resolve strengthened. They continued their mission, knowing that every soul restored was a victory, even if some chose to remain in darkness. As they restored more of the lukewarm, the travelers noticed a change in their lanterns. The eternal flame burned brighter, its light becoming more unified with each soul saved. ESI flew around them excitedly. Do you see? The more you work together, the stronger your light becomes. This is the power of unity, it reflects the very heart of the great light. The restored beings, now glowing with renewed light, began to join the travelers, their voices lifting in songs of praise and hope. Together, they worked to rebuild the ruins, creating a new city where light and truth could flourish. The wounded travelers marveled at the transformation. It's as if the great light is using even our brokenness to create something beautiful. The old man smiled. That is his way. Even ashes can become something glorious when touched by his light. Adom stood at the center of the new city, holding his lantern high. This place will no longer be known as the realm of the lukewarm. It will be called the city of refinement, a place where souls are restored and strengthened by the great light. The great light's voice resonated through the air. You have done well, my faithful ones. But your journey is far from over. There are still realms shrouded in darkness, waiting for my light to reach them. As the travelers prepared to leave the city of refinement, they were summoned to a mysterious portal that shimmered with iridescent light. The guardian of the eternal flame appeared before them, his expression grave. This portal leads to the unseen realm, he said. It is a place where darkness and light battle most fiercely. Few have ventured there and returned, for the shadows there are deeply entrenched, and the trials are unlike anything you faced before. Adom looked at his companions, their faces filled with both determination and trepidation. If the great light calls us there, we must go, he said. The guardian nodded, handing each of them a new flame, a shard of the eternal flame, condensed into a brilliant crystal. These crystals will strengthen your lanterns and give you the power to endure the trials ahead. Remember, the great light is with you always, even in the deepest darkness. Taking a deep breath, the travelers stepped into the portal, their lanterns glowing brightly. As they entered the unseen realm, they felt the air grow heavy, with an oppressive force. But their hearts remained steadfast, knowing that the great light would guide them through whatever lay ahead. The unseen realm was unlike anything the travelers had encountered. Darkness pressed against them like a living force, whispering lies and stirring fears they thought long buried. The air was thick with doubt, and the ground beneath their feet seemed unstable, shifting with every step. But the eternal flame in their lanterns burned steady, a reminder of the great light's unwavering presence. As they pressed forward, they came to a vast chasm that seemed to stretch endlessly in all directions. On the other side stood a great fortress, cloaked in shadows, its towering walls pulsing with dark energy. This was the heart of the darkness, the final stronghold of the shadow forces that had plagued so many realms. A voice boomed from the fortress, deep and menacing. You cannot pass. Your light is fragile, your faith a fleeting ember. Turn back, or be consumed by the void. Adom stepped forward, his lantern glowing brighter than ever. You are wrong. Our light is not our own, it comes from the great light, and no darkness can extinguish it. The shadowy voice laughed, and from the fortress poured an army of shadow beings, more numerous and fearsome than any the travelers had faced. The travelers raised their lanterns, but even with the eternal flame, the sheer force of the enemy seemed overwhelming. ESI fluttered above them, her voice steady, despite the chaos. Do not fight alone. Call upon the city of refinement. Call upon all who carry the light. Adom lifted his lantern high and cried out, all who belong to the great light, come to our aid. In an instant, The sky above the chasm split open, and streams of light poured forth. The restored beings, from the city of refinement, appeared, their combined light illuminating the darkness. From distant realms came others who had been touched by the traveler's journey, those who had been freed from chains, those who had crossed the bridges, and those who had found hope in the words of truth. Together, their light formed a brilliant, unified force that surged across the chasm. The shadow beings recoiled, their forms disintegrating in the presence of such overwhelming light. The fortress trembled, its dark walls cracking and crumbling. The shadowy voice roared in defiance, but was silenced as the light consumed the fortress, leaving nothing but a radiant plain where darkness once ruled. The travelers stood at the center of the plain, their lanterns now glowing with a brilliance they could hardly comprehend. The great light's voice filled the air, warm and triumphant. You have fought the good fight, and you have overcome. Through your faith, you have brought light to the darkest places, and many have been restored. Well done, my faithful servants. Adom, the old man, the wounded traveler, and Asi knelt in gratitude, their hearts filled with awe. It was not by our strength, but by yours, O great light, they said in unison. The great light continued, your journey is complete, but your light will continue to shine. The realms you have touched will flourish, and the seeds you have planted will grow into forests of faith. Rest now, knowing that your work has brought glory to my name. As the travelers returned to the city of refinement, they were greeted with songs of joy and praise. The once ruined city now shone like a jewel, its light spreading to neighboring realms. The people they had helped stood as beacons, ready to carry the mission forward. Adom looked at his companions, their faces radiant with peace. The great light's work is never finished, he said. But we have played our part, and that is enough. Esi perched on his shoulder, her wings shimmering with new colors. You were faithful, even when the path was hard. That is what matters most. And so, the travelers laid down their lanterns, knowing that their light would never fade, for it was now part of the eternal story of the great light, a story of faith, redemption, and the triumph of hope over darkness. The end. If you have listened to this point, kindly take a moment and subscribe, like and share to bless someone.